um, in the past, like here, and Michael and Scott and Carol and everyone else. Thanks for joining, Jim. So this is great. Dan is going to start recording this, and I believe, Dan, your idea is to post it on YouTube for other folks to take a look at it, right?
Yes.
Okay, Dan, you can carry on with if you want to do some introductions.
Well, our speaker today is Michael Calter. He's a candidate for ARRL Board of Directors. I had also interviewed or invited our the other candidate, our current director, Dale, W8CI, but he was unfortunately able to make it. I'll throw in two here. We're planning to do the 3 candidates for vice director in 3 weeks on September 30th. So if you're interested in that, please put that on your calendars. But you know, I think Michael is almost somebody that doesn't need much of an introduction. He's been integral to the Hamvention for a number of years now, served as the general chair, and he's been the treasurer, I think, and he's been the spokesman for several years, been on Ham Nation, if any of you guys watch that. And now he's running for the ARRL board. So I'm going to let him take it from there.
Hey, thank you. And, you know, I wasn't really expecting 300 people. It doesn't matter, you know, if you're going to put this on, if you're going to put this on YouTube and anybody's curious, they'll look at it. And I am truly honored to be here. I'm going to pop up a little bit of a PowerPoint to help me with some talking points. Is that all right? Is that allowed? Okay.
Sure.
All right. Let's see if I can. Pardon?
I was just going to ask Don to make sure you can share your screen.
Screen sharing is on.
All right, great.
Okay, let's see.
And let's have everybody else. Let's ask everybody else to please mute.
Right.
Mute.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I actually got it up there pretty quick. Oh, I went too quick there. As you know, my name is Michael Calter, Whiskey 8 Charming Idiot. And, you know, who am I? Why am I running for Great Lakes Director? That's the question that was posed to me. So I've only got, I think, a little less than 180 slides, so it should go fairly quickly. I'm just kidding, don't have that many. I want to introduce you to my wife, Whiskey 8. She says, Whiskey 8, always, always victory. That's Linda. And she's a lifetime alum member of the University of Michigan. She was raised in Flushing, so got a little bit of a Michigan connections.
Nice.
And she is also is a co-chair for the program that we put out for Hamvention. But and I also want to talk just briefly about my kids, because my family is really important to me, and give you an idea a little bit who I am. On the far left is my son, Alex. He's a graduate of The Ohio State University in physics, and then went to Moritz Law School, and he is now an intellectual property attorney in Cincinnati. The next one to the right is Rena, and she has her PhD in nurse practitioner, and she practices, has a family practice just outside of Washington, D.C. in Herndon. The girl next to her is Sasha, and Sasha is a Montessori teacher, has a master's in early childhood education. And the next one is Chandra. She's a medical doctor at the Ohio State University, and she's an infectious disease specialist. So my gosh, she's been going through all kind of things. And then the far one on the right, that's Ariana. She's the oldest. And actually, from the right to left is oldest to youngest. And my daughter, Ariana, has her master's from Purdue University in electrical engineering and works for the North American Space Intelligence Center. But I'm really proud of my family, my kids, and my grandkids. So I wanted to share that with you. Probably kill me if they see this. All right, a little bit about me. You know, I've been on the board, off and on the board of DARA for many, many years. I served as president, senior trustee, and I'm currently the treasurer and financial officer for Hamvention. And whoop, I got a typo there. I was a Hambention General Chairman in 2011 and 2012. And we only allowed 2 years as a general chair. And so that was a really interesting time for me. I was the chairman who was in charge of it whenever the sewer line broke and the flea market. So, you know, I caught a lot of crap over that. But, you know, it's like I always say, we take a slamming and we keep on hamming. So a lot of controversy over that, as well as, you know, the years of as being a spokesperson and on the Hambention committee, we got lots of grief about mud the first year, all these things about, you know, Xenia. And I was one of the people that put it into Xenia and really liked the place. So currently with Hambention, I'm a co-chair for our awards committee. We're the people that, I guess I'm one of the main guys you can blame for the selections of Club of the Year, Amateur of the Year, the Technical Achievement, Special Achievement Award. And I'm on lots of these programs like you were mentioning as the official spokesperson for Hambention, as well as I serve on the executive committee for Hambention. So a little bit about my Hambention background. And I just threw that in there. One year I got the pleasure of giving Joe Taylor K1 JT Ham of the Year Award. And I believe Carol Perry, who's here, has won Ham of the Year Award as well. So great to see her in here. Other things that I've done, Dinesh, I heard you've been, of course, you're probably from India. I don't know you, but I've traveled to India at their invitation, and Mr. Suri and Mr. Mohan, they had me travel all over India to speak about amateur radio in the United States and how testing is done, and they were hoping they could streamline things, and things are getting better. And I heard you mention Drew's name, and I was the one who submitted the nomination for him to be a Young Ham of the Year. I've been a keynote speaker at Friedrichshafen at the ham radio event, been there several times, and been a speaker, but only once as a keynote. I was invited several times to Doha, Qatar, and have been a speaker at Qatar University on amateur radio. And as a public service thing, and I'm really involved with, I am a net control operator at the National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio. I'm one of the guys that gets to sit in the weather service, and it's kind of like CNN News. They got all these screens up, but it's all weather screens, information screens. But we cover the south half of Ohio, northern Kentucky, and eastern Indiana. Pretty interesting job, and I feel like I give back a little bit there. There's just a picture of me with Mr. Mohan in India, and it's relaxing. And that's their main office building in the background. I know Carol's been there, and I think Carol's done a good work with them as well, and I had the pleasure of introducing her to those folks. As I mentioned, I was a keynote speaker in Germany. There was a picture of me then, and I'm a good-looking guy in that picture. Anyway, a little bit about my radio pursuit. I enjoy DX and am on the radio usually several nights a week. I usually found on 20 and 40 meters sideband, and I check into what's called the Friendship Net, or as we call it, Stay Safe with Safe, Alpha 71, Alpha Mike. And my current setup, just briefly, I got a JK Falcon and a JK Quattro antenna up about 65 feet. I have a ICOM 7610 and an ACOM amp, so kind of a middle of the road station. And there's my my beams that I got set up in my backyard there. So I should take that picture and stretch it even more, and that way I could really make it like it's pretty high up. So what have I done for ARRL? Because this is the big question. Well, as being an integral part of Hambention, you can't help but to be an integral part of working with the ARRL. If you remember Mary Hobart, I worked with her, and there was 2 or 3 of us that really worked closely with her in support of the Teachers Institute in getting that started. And you know, we have that quite often at DARA. I think that's been a great thing. I've worked with our DARA board in support of the ARRL scholarship funding. And I guess when I say I've done, it isn't me that's done this. I'm a pretty collaborative guy, and I work with our team, usually the board or other people interested. And, you know, we give a minimum of $10,000 a year to the ARRL. And when they had their 100-year celebration, I was a consultant to them, you know, of course unpaid, but they would call me all the time and they'd ask me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But that was a great event that they had there in Hartford a few years ago. And I have always seen and always spoken of the importance of ARRL. I believe it's a pillar of amateur radio, and it's an important pillar of amateur radio. So anyway, there's a picture of me, proof there, just a couple of them. I'm donating. I'm representing DARA, giving her, I think, $10,000 that time. And there I am addressing the ARRL. They have a meeting there. I think it's on Thursday night, and they had it at the Packard Museum usually, and they invite me to speak at that, and I really enjoyed that. So I must have been saying something funny because there's a guy in the background that's kind of smiling. So, but maybe they're happy just to get our money. Nice event though, beautiful event. Why am I running? You know, I really truly love amateur radio, and anybody that knows me knows that. And but I'm troubled right now. I'm troubled about a lot of things about amateur radio, and I'm troubled about with ARRL. It's kind of our stagnation of the membership. And I think that we lack a really clear, easy to understand strategy and vision, you know, for the future of amateur radio and for the ARRL. And I mentioned earlier that ARRL is a pillar. It's a pillar for what's going on. You know, like I consider, you know, the AMSAT, they're a pillar, and so many organizations are really strong pillars of making things happen. And I think that right now, you know, with the last couple of CEOs, you know, I'm a businessman, and I've been a businessman. I've owned a manufacturing business, did pretty well with it, and I sold it, and because I was tired of working the same place every day. And so then I got into working more with organizations and turning them around, and we sort of have done that with our Hambention. We almost lost Hambention in the early 2000s, and I was president at the time. We took a guy to court, and we got a judgment on him, and we didn't have much money at all in the bank, but we went around town, borrowed money, and we made Hambention work. And we worked as a team, and it was tough, and it was hard, and but you know, we didn't want to lose Hambention. And I'm telling you that as an example of working in a tough situation. I know how to do that. I do think that we're in the most exciting time of amateur radio. I know when I was a kid, man, I was just so excited at, you know, when Kennedy came on the scene. I started shooting the satellites up, and I remember there were top 40 songs. I used to listen to top 40 music, you know. I'm kind of verbally carbon dating myself, but I just turned 70 years old, and I'm still vertical, healthy, and got lots of energy. But I will say, wasn't that an exciting time? The first time you saw satellites going over, you sit outside at night with your friends and go, whoa, there goes one. And then, what was that music, Telstar, that, you know, the record that came out? And then Kennedy says, okay, we're going to send a man to the moon by the end of the decade. And they did it. And how amazing that was, and all the things that happened. And, you know, I was in Doha, Qatar, not long ago, and I was with a gentleman, I think it was Al Atteel, and he was one of the founders of the Qatar Amateur Radio Association, and he had me come to meet him for a lunch, and he's an emir or assistant prime minister is what he is. So he had people, an entourage with him, and we're sitting there talking. And he's a graduate of that other school in Michigan, was at Michigan State. But at any rate, spoke good English. And I told him, we talked a lot about amateur radio, but I think one of the most striking things that I remember him saying was, when I was a kid, I'd tune up and down the radio dials and I'd hear all these strange sounds. And I'd hear all these strange languages. And I wondered to myself, what in the heck are they talking about? I started cracking up and I said, I did the same thing, up and down the shortwave bands, and it was absolutely fascinating. But it was neat to talk to somebody on the other side of the world that did the same exact thing, had the same love and passion for the hobby as we do. And that's service, really. But you know what? Right now, in my opinion, this is one of the most exciting times of amateur radio. It really is. Look at the stuff coming out. Look at the equipment. And if you're like me, you're sitting around your station and you probably got screens. And I know I have a 7610. I got a big 43-inch K screen. I love to watch that thing work. And then my daughter, she works for NASIC, and I've had her over and have a son-in-law that he does some other top secret work. And I was showing them how all that worked, and they were totally amazed. And I was showing them like on 40 meters where you suddenly get that signal that streaks right across 40 meters and back. I know you've seen it, and you wonder, what is that? So I was asking my friend Chip Cullen, W8CI, and he's the inventor of fractal antennas, seems to know a lot of stuff. Really appreciate him. And he told me, well, that's over the horizon radar. And I never knew that was going on. Or the other thing is, it could be the weather balloons that they send up sometimes. That's neither here nor there. It's really, I get excited talking about radio. But when you think about what these new boxes, especially the software-defined radio boxes, can do, and how they can show young people, actually visualize radio, actually visualize a whole band, actually see where the strong, and I think it's just the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen with that. We need to capture this moment. I know one person is, and she's here, Carol Perry. My gosh, the work that she's doing, and you guys have seen it, and I really appreciate what she's doing. But I also think that the league has even more of an opportunity. What about, all the people, men and women around our age that are starting to retire, and they're going, I looked at amateur radio once, and maybe I ought to look at it again. I say that's another great opportunity to bring people in. And but I think we need to keep pushing that. But I do think having a really good strategy with ARRL is key. And I want to talk a little bit more about the strategy in a minute. But I do want to say that another thing is that the ARRL is absolutely recognized internationally. Wherever I go in the world, I see the QST magazine. And I think Dave Sumner is working hard with that group. And, what a powerhouse he's been for amateur radio. But if you look at the opportunity we have internationally with the ARRL, it's still boundless. And we still have plenty of time to leverage this to keep ourselves part of the international community. One of the things that we did, and I've led strategic planning sessions for our club, and that's the one thing that we look at is we are international. We're an international organization, and we embrace that because it's just who we are. But the importance of being international now, especially with the ARRL, and I know they're doing some work there, but I still think it needs to be more defined. But I mentioned I want to be part of developing the strategy. And I do this in my professional work, have done, usually when you go in, I've gone into troubled organizations many times, but it's usually the problem is you don't have a good focus, a good list of prioritized goals. And you set milestones. We're going to have this done by this date, and here's the people that are in charge. But the goals can't just be W8CI's goal. The goal has to be all of us, and we got to get that feedback from everybody. It can't happen in a vacuum. It can't be, you know, one or two or three people doing it. We need to get together and, you know, present this as a team. And that's the job of the director, to work with the team, you know, in the Great Lakes section leaders, anybody involved that wants to put that in. And I think that I'm tired of seeing the vicious infighting, petty stuff between board members. Now, how does that look to somebody just getting the amateur radio and they start hearing that hubbub and buzz? The league has all this, you know, stuff going on. I don't know if I want to be part of that. We're so small right now. We can, 161,000, maybe a little more than that. And that's just the size of a small city in a big scheme of things. And amateur radio ranks, it's a smaller percentage. But why should somebody join? What is the win-win proposition? We need to define that better, and we need to reach out more, is my opinion. And I'm telling you, if I get elected, and I like to go places, I like to talk to people. And I really don't care if it's a small crowd or a big crowd, because word spreads. You know, if somebody has a good idea, that idea gets passed on and somebody else uses it, I believe. So in my opinion, I want to work, well, not my opinion, my goal is I want to work with as many folks as possible in the Great Lakes section. I want to understand what your concerns and ideas are. I definitely don't have all the answers, and I don't like to make decisions, make assumptions, but I do have ideas. So kind of in summary, you know, if given the opportunity, I know I can make a positive difference. You know, I've heard a lot of people get these ballots and they just discard them. So I'm asking you to fill it out. I hope I put my name in there. But why would you choose me? I'm a communicator and a collaborator. I ask lots of questions. I don't play favorites. But most importantly, I truly love amateur radio, and I want to see the future of it to be very successful. And I do truly understand, you know, I'm up to the task because, you know, in working with Hamvention and other organizations, it's that I learned what it's like to take a slamming and keep on hamming. So that's pretty much what I had. I want to make sure that, you know, and I'll take some questions here. You know, I don't know how long this is supposed to go. I didn't want to make it any longer than necessary. And wanted you to kind of know what I'm thinking, where my heart is, what my vision is, and where I'd like to go. And so 73, I'm ready for questions.
So I'll start the questioning. We talked about this a little bit on the phone last week, but one of my things with the ARRL has been, as you point out, stagnation of membership. And I really think that they need to set a goal. The actual number isn't important. I throw out the number 25% of licensed radio amateurs in the US, just to get the discussion started. But that argument's fallen on deaf ears. So maybe you can talk to us a little bit more about that. What can be done to increase the membership?
Well, Dan, I think a lot about that, because that is one of the things that we need to do, is to increase the membership. But we need to think about, what is the win-win? Is there a good balance of, okay, I want to join the ARRL for this reason, and this is what I'm going to get out of it. And what needs to happen for that? Are they going to listen to me? Are they communicating to me what's going on? And Dan, I think that this is all part of a good strategic planning session to understand how are we going to get there? And it's more than what Michael can. I mean, I have my ideas, and I think that we need to market better. I think come up with new and fresh approaches. And I know they're sort of doing it. I want to say that for the last few years, I think that the actual staff at the ARRL has done a superb job. And I think that they've kind of lacked, really strong, good direction, for lack of a good strategic plan. I mean, they had some things, but what have they done about membership? And we need to all work on that together. And so, Dan, let me ask you, why are you a member of the ARRL?
Well, that's a good question. Well, because I need to support, I think I should pay my $50 and support ham radio, basically. Plus, if I wasn't a member, I wouldn't be able to blog so much about it. I mean, my opinions could be just, well, you're not a member, so what do I need to listen to you for?
Good point.
But I mean, I don't think it's me. I mean, I don't think it's me that the ARRL has to market to, that has to convince to be a member.
Yeah, I think I agree with Dan on that. Like, I'm on Reddit, and we have the amateur radio subreddit there, and most folks there are like young, and they don't want to join the ARRL. I'm a life member, but like I know people like who don't want to get into any of this infighting, don't want to be involved in any of that, and they don't want to be the ARRL members. I think those are the folks that we need to kind of convince and tell them that, hey, we have changed this, or we're changing this, and you need to support us more.
Just
That's
to
a
snack on it.
good
Go ahead,
point.
Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Dinesh, that's a really good point. That's once again, what is the win-win proposition? And how do we convince these people? The first thing we have to do is quit the infighting. I mean, say you're like 25, 26 years old. You get into it, you start looking around, you're pretty media savvy, and you see that, man, there's a lot of fighting going on that in the ARRL. So what good are they? Well, I mean, why would I want to get involved with a group that can't even get along with itself? So that's why I'm running. I mean, it's not to become well known, and I could probably become well known in Hambention. I don't know, but what I'm saying is, if we can capture the things that you're saying, Dinesh, and then listen to the younger people, and like Carol, you've got so many of your alum, so to speak. I wonder how many of them are AR members and what their thoughts are. Why wouldn't they join? This is the kind of, and Carol, I'll let you answer that, but I think this is the kind of thing we, as the league, need to really understand and to really get behind. And smart people who are close to it. Dinesh, you're close to a group like that. But Carol, answer that, please.
Well, firstly, I think anybody, before they join anything, thinks to themselves, what's in this for me? And the idea, of course, in a leadership position is to capitalize on what most of your demographic wants. For example, in different divisions, you may have a very active retired population or a very active youth organization going, and reach out, I would suggest, to those leaders of those different demographics, and what can you do to help them expand and amplify the initiatives and the efforts that they would be interested in then taking back to the people in their division. And as far as my alum, I would say 90% of them, they come to me when they're 10 or 11 to speak at the Dayton Youth Forum, but we've got them up to age 30 and in their 30s with young people of their own now, still texting me or emailing me or speaking with me on the air about how they are now getting their own youngsters involved, and showcasing young people is a fabulous way. You've got the parents, the family, the clubs that they belong to. These are all the initiatives that I would suggest that seem to work with these different demographics.
Absolutely, Carol. I appreciate hearing your input on that. You've had the inside track on this for 30 plus years now. I think it's fabulous, the work you do.
Thank you.
Dan, I better turn it back over to you. I'm not supposed to run the show. You are.
No. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Sure. I'm not sure what the protocol is for that, so I'll just talk. So,
Yeah.
with the infighting and recent controversy aside, when I look at the league, and I'm in my later 50s, I'm not by any means in the youth category, right? But I look at the league and I see an anachronism, a 20th century, a mid 20th century anachronism in the way that the league conducts its business, the things that the folks who are driving the league, the board of directors and things like that, are trying to do. We vote by snail mail, and only snail mail. There's so many different things, so many ways we're not even in the 21st century. So my question to you is, how much are you willing to try to push the league to make some fundamental changes, to just basically start over with a clean sheet of paper, almost, not undo the good things, but really transform it into a 21st century organization?
You know, Ed, all my life, I've really appreciated change. And, in order for, I'll just give you an example. I mean, with Hamvention, in order to keep that going and to make that happen, we had to go through a lot of changes. We had to listen when we did it. We had to keep it vibrant and understand, what people are looking for. And I know they weren't looking for mud. They got it a couple of years ago. But at any rate, I am willing to, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm in this thing. I want to communicate to the membership, especially in the Great Lakes region. I got a motorhome, and my wife and I love to travel. I come talk to any club, listen to what people have to say, and I think it's important. And I also think that we need, at least in this region, in the Great Lakes region, I think we can all pull together better as a team. I don't think that one guy should make, all the decisions without working with like the section managers and other people. I think it's extremely important. And I think that bringing about, and there are some really good board members, and I've met some of them. And I think a lot of them want that to happen. They want a fresh look. They want so badly for the ARRL to be open, to get rid of this infighting, and because no organization can last. If the board is it has these infights and trying to get rid of somebody, like with blind side censures or a code of conduct where you can't speak to the people in your division. Here's how I see it. Each one of the directors is representing a pretty big area. And it's like Congress. You got an area you represent. Why can't you speak about what you believe? And I think it's extremely important. I intend to do that. And I intend to, push for a new, fresh look. Yeah, I know I don't have a new, fresh look, but I like a new, fresh look. And some of the people here know me. They know that's the way I operate. I know Carol knows that. And Jim Storms, he's also a board member who's here. And Scott knows it a little bit. And I see Frank in there. But, these people all, they all support amateur radio. We all want to work together to make this great. And so like, Dinesh, with your ideas, I mean, these are the kinds of input, kinds of things we need to make it new, to make it fresh. And how do we do that? And we got to brainstorm it, and we will make it happen. I'm totally into that, Ed. I'm willing to push it. What have I got to lose? what have I got to lose? You know, and if we don't try to make things better, if we ride the fence, somebody once told me, oh no, it's a country music song. If you ride the fence, you're going to get splinters. Who's got something?
No one else?
Well, wait a minute now. Let's see, Jim Storms, did you have anything to say? Jim is on our board down there, and Jim is the new Assistant General Chairman for Ham Bench, and so I'd like for you to meet him real quick. Jim?
Pleasure to meet everybody here this evening. I'm glad to join you. You asked the question why people join ARRL. I joined ARRL because it's a group of hams, but it's a group together. So whenever things like this new fee comes up, they're out there in the front rows thumping congressmen and going at it on our behalf. I can't do that. I can't be out there talking to the individual large group of congressmen, but they can, and they can represent us, and I support them in that, and like waiting on their guidance on how to respond to our own individual senators and congressmen. That's where they come in, and that's what they do. They represent us, and that's why I'm in there and continue to support ARRL. We're that voice of the average ham to the powers that be. So that's why I do it, and I support Hamvention obviously because I want everybody to learn and enjoy ham radio. I'm aficionado like Carol with youth. I'm one of the co-leaders and co-founders of the Dave Calter Youth DX Adventure. So we take youth to a foreign country to learn to operate for a week and make be the DX. And that's I try to support youth in that, and with the IOTA, the Youth on the Air camp, helping them down in Cincinnati do that. Youth is our future, and I'm all for it, and I support Carol and her work, and she supports me in my work. So we're really after the youth, and that's what we've got to capture is those young people.
That's good, Jim. By the way, that Dave Calter, DX Youth Expeditions, my little brother who passed away of cancer at a young age of 50 years old. Man, I really miss that guy. It was great having my own brother. He was as much into ham radio, if not more, than myself. And we'd have some good arguments, but get down to it, we really enjoyed amateur radio. I want to say hello to Bill from over there near the East Coast, the Vienna. It's not the Bill. Why don't you explain who you are?
Okay, well, thanks, Mike, for putting me on the spot here. I'm here because I'm a friend of Mike's, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. One of the things he didn't say about himself that I think is important that I've learned is that he is an extraordinarily good listener. And I think that if I were in the Great Lakes region, I would be interested in someone representing me to the ARRL who's going to listen to what I have to say. My experience with Mike is that he does a great job of that. He sat on my back porch a few times and listened to me talk about, let me rephrase that. He sat on the porch and listened to me blather on at sometimes great length about some things. And somehow he heard what the real truth was in the nuggets. So that's why I'm here. I wanted to support him in his effort to represent your region to the ARRL. I'm a ham member of the Vienna Wireless Society outside of Washington, D.C., and grateful to be able to have fun with amateur radio, and it has kept me younger than I really am. So I'm blessed with that. And thank you for letting me speak. Thanks for letting me be part of your group tonight.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Any other comments, questions?
I'd like to say something again. You may not know this about Michael and the folks who are involved with Hamvention, but very important, especially to me, is that 33 years ago, before it was politically correct to get young people involved in amateur radio, Hamvention invited me to have a youth forum there. And 33 years ago, that was a very unusual thing to do. And for the past 32 years, every year at the Dayton Youth Forum, we've been showcasing the talented and creative young people. That's the outreach that I was speaking about when an organization does that and supports an initiative that then gets well supported and brings new members in. And the league, to their credit, excuse me, reaches out quite often to me to do joint projects together, like sponsoring an astronaut that they have sponsored at the Dayton Hamvention to have lunch with the children from the youth forum. So that reaching out is the concept that I know Michael is already familiar with because he's done it through the years. And it's a wonderful way to get new members, I believe.
Well, thank you. I guess if there's no other questions, I'll turn it back over to our Master of Ceremonies.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dave.
Back first of the year, ARRL introduced a new magazine, On the Air, which I thought was the concept of the magazine is great, but what I can't understand, and I did write a couple emails, but got negative replies on them. What I can't understand is why don't we have something like that out on the book stands for those who may have a passing interest of radio or electronics. They might pick it up, get the idea, hey, this might be neat, and get involved, and maybe even join the ARRL, instead of making this a membership benefit. When we were young, the bookshelf that you might walk by in the newsstand, when they had newsstands back then, there was Popular Electronics and Popular Mechanics and all those kinds of things like that. And I always got the Popular Electronics because there were some neat things like being a shortwave listener and all that kind of stuff. I don't understand why we don't want this out to anybody but a member. And it seems like a great outreach to me to perhaps bring in newer, younger people who will support the organization over time. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but maybe I'm a little wet. Adding a membership benefit to the membership doesn't seem right to me. We should be reaching out.
Dale, I love that. I love that concept. You know, as you were speaking, I was thinking back at my childhood, and I bet there's some of you did the same thing. You had the latest Lafayette catalog or the Allied catalog, or you had the Heathkit catalog, and you would drool over it, or a Night Kit catalog, you know. And I remember my first magazines I ever saw about amateur radio were at like a drugstore, you know. And I thought it was just fabulous. And to this day, you know, thinking about the magazines and the things that made a difference, you know, nothing better than a good old catalog of some sort, you know. And I like the catalogs that come out today. I love them. I think they're great. And I also think in QST magazine, you know, people say there's too many advertisements. I kind of like the advertisements. I like knowing what's going on. But you know, I like old catalogs, new catalogs, and the smell of solder smoke. You know, that to me, that's great. And Dale, I appreciate you giving me that information, because I think that's a great idea. Why not get it out in front of the kids? Why not get it into libraries? And interestingly enough, I'll mention this, that our sheriff in Greene County, that's where Xenia is located. That's where I live. and he he was so interested in it at the first handbenching. He recently got a license, and he comes over to my house, stops by on a regular basis. He's bought some equipment from me, and he's getting his beams up. And he's a big believer in amateur radio now, and as well as our the guy that's in charge of all the libraries in Greene County. And he just got his license with his daughter, and he's got a maker space in the library, and we've been talking about how do we get a station in there. But then, Dale, how do we keep these magazines and things in front of kids? And I know Carol Perry's. I can just see her. I can just tell that her things are cranking. So great idea, Dale. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think we also need to probably work on how the testing is done for VEs. Like Mark here is our VE lead, and some of us are part of the VE team at our club here. And we have been thinking of moving to the Laurel VEC because it's much easier to use Laurel than the ARRL. And we have waited all these years to see if the ARRL would make changes to make it easy for us. Like the amount of paperwork that's involved, like Dan sometimes has his exams and we have like 30, 40, 50 students in there, and the amount of paperwork that you need to do as part of ARRL is a lot. And I think Laurel makes it much easier, and we would have switched to Laurel VEC by now if not for COVID. I think that's something that the ARRL needs to work on. So I don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. But
I can address that question if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
I am an ARRL VE team lead here in Heber Heights, Ohio, for the Heber Heights Amateur Radio Club. And when my last packet took 2.5 weeks, first class mail, to arrive at Newington, I complained to Maria. She sent me back a note saying they have now introduced exam tools, the electronic submission of all paperwork to them for a testing session. And within 48 hours of receiving that electronic paperwork, they will have it filed with the FCC. So I suggest you take a peek at that. And it even has automatic grading in it if you use the full tools. So I would suggest that if you're still considering ARRL, that you do look at that, because they have upgraded in the last few weeks to this new method. Plus, they also have the procedure for doing testing a person remotely. So you may want to check into that.
Yeah, thank you.
Good input, Jim. Anybody else? Comments?
Oh, actually, I'm kind of curious as to what your take is on this new set of privileges that are being floated for the technician class and the 8 bands.
You know, I anytime we can use more of the bands, you know, there was a lot of discussion about, you know, when remember they dropped the code and how bad it was going to be, all the people that would get on there without code. I don't know. I want to see the bands used, and if it helps, use the bands more. And I'm pretty much all for it. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I think I was particularly interested in the aspect of essentially giving them digital privileges, because a lot of this stuff, when you tell somebody, oh, you know, you can get a QRP radio, it'll cost you less than $100 to get on the air in HF. And then they find out that at the bottom of the sunspot cycle, they can't talk to anybody with 5 or 10 watts. But on the other hand, or they can't do it because they don't know CW. So on the other hand, you can do digital modes. FT8, FT4 is very effective at that power level. And I think that goes kind of hand in hand with the idea that the technician class is supposed to be more technical in nature anyway. So that's, and I was in favor of that, but I thought maybe things kind of went overboard when they said, well, let's give them a whole bunch of phone privileges too. By the time you do that, what's the difference between that and a general class license? I don't see it. So
I see where you're coming from, but I do think that especially a lot of people enter on the with a technician license, and they get kind of like discouraged. There's not a lot they can do. I mean, yeah, you can get on 2 meters and whatever, but being able to do FTA, especially young people, that really excites them. And I know that in our county, I'm working with some guys, and matter of fact, our sheriff, and we're setting up at the fairgrounds. We've got 2 towers up, and we're putting up antennas so we can work with young people in a 4-H. We're trying a 4-H leading project, and Carol's been an advisor to us with that. I mean, when I see kids that are watching FTA, they're pretty excited. And then the neat thing about, I know there's a lot of pluses and minuses about FTA. And I will tell you, I was in Visalia, well, they didn't have it this year, but last year when I went, I got invited to the board meeting, and you know, there was a lot of like, are you really going to support FTA? What about this? You know, and I kind of, they asked me in the end what my feeling was, and I kind of think that you know, it reminds me of when I was a kid. If the music's too loud, then you're too old. You know, I mean, it's we got to reach out to everybody. So Dave, I think that there's a balance in there somewhere, and I like your input quite a bit. I think we really need to listen to a lot of people like you, or maybe even the technician class license, but people and people that are young, people that are old. Let's make a good, solid decision. You know, I understand that, yeah, where's the line between a general and a technician? You know, do we still need that line? Probably. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of the point. If we're going to essentially keep giving more and more privileges to technicians so that you can't really tell it apart from the general class, why don't we just make them all generals? You know, it just, you know, I mean, we had this incentive licensing thing, and over the years it's kind of gotten kind of degraded. If you really want to try to, if the whole point of incentive licensing was to get people to learn more so they'll upgrade, well, that's one thing. But if we've given up on that idea, then why do we keep all these license classes? It just complicates the system. So that's, you know, and I like the digital modes. I worked in the Worldwide Digi Contest, and you know, I pulled out my little KX2 and operated in QRP mode for that contest on FT8 and FT4. So there's just there's a lot of for me, there's always just a bunch of new stuff to learn. That's the best part about ham radio for me, is that there's just always something new to learn. And that's the thing that I would like people who are getting into ham radio to catch on, you know, that it's the journey.
Boy, you couldn't have said it any better, Dave. I like that. It is the journey, you know. I think all of us have been on that journey maybe since we were kids, or whenever you wouldn't be in this hobby, you know. And I know for me, I spend way too much money in this hobby. I'm dropping out of the Radio of the Month Club. You know, I just got too much stuff. And I actually been giving a bit of it away. And because I realize that I'm going to leave a lot for my family, and they're going to go, now, what am I going to do with all this? Even my wife is a ham. Is going to, you know, I've got some buddies who are lined up in case for when that happens. But heck, they're older than me, so I don't know. Anyway, any other questions or comments? Dave, I love the comment. Thank you, man.
I'll ask one more question then. You know, as we all know, right, that if you ask 5 hams, you get at least 6 different opinions. So in the case of there not being a real clear majority view within the section on a certain topic, how are you going to decide how to represent that to the ARRL board, and how are you going to decide how to vote if you need to vote for something?
I've thought about that one, and so my plan is to call you, Dave, and Dinesh. But no, and, but seriously, but it would be, I really want to depend on, the section managers, some of the other technical expertise. I want to hear good arguments against it or for it. And then I would like to come, and I'm a collaborator, I would like to come to an agreement with the team from the Great Lakes section to make a decision. Because, I could make a decision and go, oh, man, what was I thinking? I didn't see these other things. And I think it's important that I do that. And that's my commitment. I don't know everything. I don't, I'm not in every phase of amateur radio. I know about a lot of it, but I'm not deeply involved in it and see the nuances, there's nuances to everything that we do, and I think it's important that we understand the nuances and listen to the people that get the nuances, So, that's me. I don't know if if that's my answer is what you want or not, but that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm sorry?
I wasn't looking for a particular answer, just what your thought was on it. So thank you very much.
Anything else? Hey, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to let you know a little bit more about me rather than just watching me on some thing about ham benching. But I'm a dedicated ham and I love amateur radio, and I do want to make a positive difference with everybody's support. And, as you can see, I got a balanced family. My wife is from Michigan. So there you go. Anyway, let me send it back over to, I think, Dan. And thanks, everybody. Contact me. I'm good on QRZ.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I'll turn it back to Dinesh.
All right. Thanks, Michael. That was really good, and everyone else who participated. If we don't have anything else, I think we can end the session here. Does anyone want to share anything else? We did. Dan, you want to talk about Corbin quickly?
Well, actually, Jay would be the best one, but I guess he's not kind of with us all the way as he's.
Yeah.
Is sometimes. Yeah, unfortunately, Corwin passed away, Corwin Moore, and WB8UPM was a longtime member, and in a lot of ways was the guy responsible for keeping ARRL alive when through the late 90s, especially when there really wasn't an ARRL. And yeah, it's just sad to hear of his passing.
Yep. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, that's about it. I don't think we have anything to report from the board. We did meet this week or last week. We are working on getting our DMR repeater up and running. Hopefully once UFM, we get an okay from University of Michigan, we'll go and fix the repeater. So yeah.
I'd like to remind everybody that tonight is the last night to visit the Ham Radio Expo site, QSO Today Ham Radio Expo site, where they still have everything available on demand. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything that you want to watch, you should take a look at Carol Perry's Youth on the Air program as a presentation, and her kids. I was really blown away by it. It was really a lot of fun. They talk about their high altitude balloon projects and all the other stuff that they're working on. So,
thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and stay safe and take care.
All right.